Very welcome to the studio today. This is Rumin at Rumin's Art. And today I want to talk a little bit about mixing skin tones, but specifically the ZORN palette. And what led to this was I've just completed a 5-day portrait painting workshop. And on the first day of this workshop, we mix some skin colors, some skin tones. And traditionally, what we do is we would mix yellow, cadmium red light and ultramarine blue, which would give us sort of a muddy color. And then we would go over that muddy color. We can add white and we get all different shades of tonal values of skin tone. Some skin tones are more yellow, so we can add yellow ochre to get more yellow. We can add more cadmium red to that mixture, which will give us those type of colors. We can add more alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, the umber. We can add more blue for the bluish part of the skin. Some people have more blue in their skin, especially men where the beard is. And then some people's got a more greenish tone to then skin color, and even some purple and even more pink and orangey as well. So there's so many different skin tones that you can mix. During this week of presenting this course, I was thinking, some student was saying, this is way too many colors, we don't need all of that. And others were saying, this is not enough at all because we see so many different colors and tonal values in the skin. And for that reason, I decided to do a little research on the ZORN palette and make a color chart of the ZORN palette, and you can do it with me if you want. So I had a look on Pinterest to be able to show you a few of ZORN's paintings, and they are just beautiful. Here is a look at a few of his paintings, which he's painted with this limited palette of only ivory black, vermilion red, and yellow ochre. Really beautiful. So let's have a look at how many colors we can mix today with this limited palette during this session. Please join me. So the first thing we're going to do after we've mixed our black, red and yellow together to get our muddy color, we're going to see what the pure colors, the pure ivory black, vermilion and yellow ochre gives us when we add white to that. So we're going to take the color and first add 25% white to it, and we're going to add it in that block. Then 50% white to it, add it in that block. Then 75% white to the pure color, add it there, and then 95% white and add it there. And that's going to give us 5 different tonal values, starting from the darkest to the lightest. So if I take my black and I add to it 25% white, let's take a little bit more. So there's the black, and 25% of that, 1/4, should be more or less this. If I mix that, it should give me the next tonal value, which goes in this block. I'm just going to fill it in there. Okay, then the next one is 50%. So I've already added 25%. I'm going to add another 25%. That's going to give me the next shade of grey. The next tonal value, which should be more or less in the middle. Just want to get a clean brush to paint it. So that's the tonal value there. The next one is 75%, so another 25% of white. clean brush. And then of course the last one where we add almost double the amount of white to the mixture to get a really highlight and light tone. Looks about right. So that is what the pure black will give me, tonal values of grey. Now I'm going to do the same with the red. Next up is the yellow. So I'm going to mix the yellow with white. Then that's my next color that I get. The next tonal value would be to mix even more white in it. And the next one is even more white. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit more there. And then the one where there's 95% white and the rest is your yellow. So that would just be the highlight. So there's the colours. I'm just going to fill them in there. Okay, so we have our 5 yellow ochre tonal values, and then we have our red and our pure black. So now we're going to mix the different blacks that you can mix with the ZORN palette. So firstly, it's going to be black and red and one portion. So it's going to be 1 portion black and the same amount of red. And we're going to mix that. And that is the color we're going to put there. Then we're going to do, next to that, 3 parts black and 1 part red. Just to see what that will bring us. 1, 2, 3 parts black and 1 part red. And we're going to mix that together to see what that brings us. And the minute we add the white, the color will start to show us its true color. That is actually how we can determine what is in a color. And then the third one, we're going to add 1 part black, 1 part yellow. So there's, sorry, black. So there we have our 1 part black and our 1 part yellow, and we mix that together to see what that brings us. I'll have to mix a little bit more just now to be able to have enough to add the white. So you can see that brings you a greenish color. And then we're going to have 3 parts black and 1 part yellow. So again, 1, 2, 3 parts black and 1 part yellow. We can mix that together for the next one. I'm just going to mix a little bit more to be able to mix it with my white to have enough. Red gives me. Now we're going to do the one with 3 parts black and 1 part red. Look at all those lovely, lovely colors that the ZORN palette is giving us. So the last one here with the black is where we mix our mixture of black, red and yellow, that mixture, with 1 part white. So I'm going to take 1 part of that, with 1 part of black. So now if I mix those, I'm going to have that color and I'm going to add white, 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 white. Okay, so now we're at our mixture where we have our black, red and yellow, that mixture, with 1 part of black. Here we have that same mixture with 3 parts of black. And here we have 3 parts of the mixture with 1 part of black. So let's see how that turns out. 3 times black. So it's 1, 2, 3 times black with 1 part of this. Will give us a different tone. And then we're having 1 part black with 3 parts of that. So 1, 2, 3 parts of that with 1 part of black. So let's fill them in and see what difference they're going to give us. Okay, so there we have all our blacks. These are very similar. It depends on how many of the white you mix in that, but really a lovely palette to work with. These are more cool, obviously, than this one and that one, but really lovely. I'm really enjoying what I see. Now, so let's see. Here we're going to mix 1 part red and 1 part black. Which will give us the same than there, but here we're having 3 parts red and 1 part black, where over here we did it the other way around. We had 3 parts black and 1 part red. So let's see what that gives us. So we have our, let's just do that again. We have 1 part red and 1 part black, and then we have our 3 parts red. 1, 2, 3, with 1 part black. That should really give us a beautiful color to work with. I'm just going to fill that in here. I'm going to do my red and yellow now. So that would be 1 part red, 1 part yellow. So there is 1 part red, 1 part yellow. And over here we have 3 parts red and 1 part yellow. So it's 1, 2, 3 parts red and 1 yellow. Going to take us more to the orangey colors. More of a yellow orange and more of an orange. So let's see, 1 part yellow, 1 part red. That's going to go there. Lovely colors and flesh tones to work with. Now we're going to do the red with our black, red and yellow mixture. So that's going to be 1 part red, 1 part black, oh sorry, not black, 1 part red and 1 part of our mud mixture. Then it's going to be 1 part red, no sorry, 3 parts red, 1, 2, 3 parts red and 1 part mud. And then it's going to be 1 part red and 3 parts mud. 1, 2, 3. Now let's see what colors that brings us here. There's the 1, 1. And this is the 3 parts red. And that one is 3 parts mud. Okay, here's our first. Beautiful colors that we already have on this palette. Now I'm going to work with the yellows. So let's do that. 1 part yellow, 1 part black, 1 part yellow. We're going to have 3 parts yellow. 1, 2, 3 parts yellow, 1 black. Then we're going to have 1 yellow, 1 red. 1 yellow, 1 red. You can have 3 yellow and 1 red. 1, 2, 3 yellow and 1 red. Then we're going to have 1 yellow and 1 mud. 1 mud. We're going to have 3 yellow and 1 mud. 1 mud. 1, 2, 3 yellow. And then we're going to have 1 yellow and 3 mud. Let's put it there. 1 yellow and 1, 2, 3 mud. Okay, so let's start to mix that up and add it in our little template block. Completed. Like I mentioned before, you can do a lot more tonal values like I did, but I'm very happy with this chart. You can see that the ZORN palette doesn't use any blue. It's black, red and yellow. But here some of these mixtures, the black and yellow turned out more green, but the minute when you added the mud mixture, it's sort of a grayish bluish color. So you do have a hint of blue in your palette, and the ivory black that I used is more blue-gray. Depends on which black you use as well. So I think it's a lovely variety to paint with, and I'm definitely going to try this in my next portrait instead of having such a huge palette, a massive palette like we did with the previous mixture. Let me just put it here not to mess it. Where we had our mud mixture, which is blue, cadmium red, light and yellow, and where we added yellow ochre, the red, the crimson, the burnt sienna, the raw umber, burnt umber, ultramarine blue, green, purple and pink to get to these colors. But I'm very sure that with this palette we will be able to get to very similar colors and do a lovely portrait painting. There's our completed ZORN palette. It was really fun doing it with you today. If there's any requests for tutorials that you would like me to make, or questions you have on any art subject, please email me to the email on the screen. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye.